And we are live.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. It's V, the Guerrilla Economist, coming to you live on another edition of Rogue Money Mornings with V and CJ, where we bring you the news, the views, and all the information that's important to you. You can follow us on Twitter at the Rogue Money. Check us out on Facebook, Rogue Money. And don't forget roguemoney.net, the fastest growing, baddest ass geopolitical, geostrategic, geoeconomic news site on planet Earth. With that being said, you can also check out our podcast over at the Apple iTunes Store as well as the Google Play Music Store. And we're also on Apple News as the only alt media there. We'll soon be on Google News as well. With that being said, guys, check out myfreedomnow.us. Myfreedomnow.us. People are getting free of debt. They're getting their credit scores improved, and they're getting funded. Learn how you can get up to $600 CJ, $600,000 unsecured. Use that for your investments. Use that to get out of debt. Use that to get property. Use that to get whatever the heck you need. Change your life. Transform yourself. It's the closest thing you're going to get to a lottery. With that being said, check it out. myfreedomnow.us. With that out of the way, CJ, what's going on?
Hey, good morning, V. Good morning.
Good morning, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's been monitoring. You sent some articles over to me this morning, and I was doing some reading last night as well. But it's amazing to see the economic indicators that are out there. And now we're starting to see some movement with some pretty big players, right? In terms of some of the things that they are doing, kind of signaling, if you will, what is forthcoming.
Yeah. There's a lot going on, man. There's a lot, and this article is from our boys over at Zero Hedge. They put it up there, but it was something that I was talking about for years on end. If you've been following the work we've been doing, you would know that, number one, the market, it's going to get harder and harder to make a profit. Number one. Number two, you're going to know that, there's simply no yield left. Chasing a yield is going to be the hardest, bloodiest thing in the world. And number three, the risk is really high. And the way they're going to disguise the fact that the risk is being so high, they're going to disguise it by putting down any sort of volatility index as low as possible. Okay, and it's pretty funny. When you look at the volatility index, man, it is the lowest it's been right at 2007, right before the 2008 bubble. It's following almost the same pattern. It's pretty ridiculous when you put it, you put the VIX side by side. It's pretty similar here. Now, what's incredible is that Altair Asset Management, okay, one of the big Australian hedge funds. Okay, this is one of the big boys, one of the big players there. They do a lot in terms of investments, not only in Australia, the Europe Pacific, but also in the U.S. as well. One of the things is they have returned hundreds of millions of dollars back to its clients. And this is according to the Sydney Morning Herald, citing an impending property market calamity and the overvalued, dangerous time in this cycle. And, quote, giving up management and performance fees and handing back cash from investments managed by us is a seminal decision. How we're preserving client assets is what all fund managers should put before their own interests. Philip Parker, who serves as Altair's chairman and chief investment officer, said in a statement on Monday, quoted by the Sydney Morning Herald. What does that mean? What does it mean for you? Well, here's the deal. Australia, just like Canada, just like the United States, has been caught in a massive real estate bubble that's been inflated since the 2008 pop. I want you guys to think about this. And I don't know if many of you know about this, but it wasn't just the United States real estate market that was up in a bubble back in 2008. It was pretty much the entire Western world. It was not just the US, but it was also the UK. It was also the EU. It was also Australia. It was also New Zealand. It was also Canada. Now, these same countries, and CJ and I have been detailing, two of the biggest mortgage companies in Canada are on the verge of collapse. One of them, I think, already had a bailout. They're looking for a bailout or something like that. I don't exactly remember at this point. But the signs are there. So for an Australian company, and I want you to think about this, there is no more yield. Yields are hard to come by. It's about creating volume. That is the goal of every single firm at this point, at this stage of the game. It's not about performance. It's about volume. So for a hedge fund in Australia to return hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars back to its clients, if that is not a warning shot, if that is not a red flag, I don't know what is. What does that firm know? Well, number one, they probably know that if they held onto those client funds and if things do go pop, they're going to be absolutely eviscerated and there will be no bailout for them. People are not going to bail out firms anymore. It's just not going to happen. So they were holding the hot potato and they decided, you know what? We no longer want to hold it anymore. And they ditched it. That is huge. Because what this is connected with, and I guarantee you, is connected with what's going on in the US, what's going on in Canada, and the real estate markets the world over. CJ.
Absolutely huge. I mean, there's no doubt that when you take a look at the existing bubbles that are out there, the housing bubble itself is very significant. Our friend Charles Hugh Smith also has a great article on his blog of Two Minds.
Yeah.
That you need to make sure to go check out, and it's titled "How Debt Asset Bubbles Implode: The Supernova Model of Financial Collapse." And he's exactly right. You know how he details this out, that eventually that there's not enough income to service the debt, and when that particular trigger happens, it affects everything from consumer spending. Yet they can print money to prop certain entities up. But what they can't do is directly impact the economy by getting it to the middle class, putting money in the middle class hands to spur this. The right. Debt bubbles are here. There's no hiding it. It's under Obama, even under Bush, we have more than tripled our national debt. You know, I'm sure by now it's probably over $20 trillion. Who knows what it really truly is, V. And all these signs are signaling, and it's not just a few. You know, in the past it used to be, you know, maybe 4 or 5 people were stating that, hey, this isn't going to end well. But now we're seeing it, the multitude of reporting on this that's occurring, V, and people need to start paying attention.
Oh, 1,000%, man. I remember years ago I gave the analogy, right? The analogy that I gave was, it was like a tsunami. You know, what you're having right now is right before a tsunami occurs, you see all of a sudden the water, the tides are pulled back and the shoreline is exposed. And what people don't realize, that's the liquidity leaving the market. Okay, and people wonder where the hell is the liquidity, but yet even though the water is gone, they still continue to play on the beach. They're still making sandcastles. They're still trying to splash on whatever water's left on the shore. They're still picking up seashells. They're still picking up some of the fishes that might have been pulled back when the tide pulled back. But what they don't realize is, off in the distance, that energy, that kinetic energy that caused that tide to pull back, is being built up. There's a huge energy being built up, and that wave is coming back and is going to hit the shore at an absolutely violent rate. What that comeback is, folks, is hyperinflation. Now, what does that mean for us, and what does that mean for you guys? I'll tell you this. When that pullback occurred, okay, in 2008, the liquidity left the market. And I've been talking about it for years. If you've been following me for years, you know this. I've been talking about liquidity being next to nothing. I've said that multiple times. We're in not only a liquidity crisis in banking, we're also in a solvency crisis in banking. That the monetary financial system right now at this point is held together by monetary or financial or electronic duct tape. Okay, that's what the whole entire economy is being held together by, electronic duct tape. Okay, that's what's holding it all together. Now, when this tidal wave comes back, that's hyperinflation. So if the liquidity, if the energy, if the toxicity has been pulled out of the country, where has been most of a lot of this stuff's been going? Well, we know about TARP, we know about Twist, we know about ZERP, we know about MBS, right? We know about mortgage-backed securities. We also know for the fact that many European, Australian, Canadian financial firms have still holding on to U.S. subprime, have still invested in U.S. real estate in the last several decades. Okay, so when the fissures begin to crack on the real estate market, the financialized real estate market, I've said this a long time ago, you're going to start seeing reverberations overseas. I was thinking Europe, but surprisingly, it started in Canada and is starting to spread. This is a huge problem. It's only going to snowball, the kinetic effects of which we have not seen yet, CJ. And I think sometime in 2018, we'll possibly see, and probably towards the end of 2017, we'll see a major correction in the real estate market, bro.
Yeah, major correction, and when you start to tie these things together, V, you look at the messaging that's occurring. Yep. So we covered last week in regards to Zuckerberg calling for a universal basic income. Yep. All these things tie together, okay? Because the government understands that when this thing's hit, that they're going to need everything that they can to try to silence the majority. And what do? You give them free money. You put money in your hands. But what they don't tell you is that when they give you that free money in your hands, V, and hyperinflation kicks in, it ends up like Venezuela. Those dollars don't amount to purchase a whole lot at that time.
Exactly. So don't think of it as they're so loving and benevolent that they just want to give out free money. No, they're trying to somehow hide up the hyperinflation. And most dumb people, they'll think it's the greatest thing in the world as their savings and earnings are eviscerated. I mean, I've said so many times, the dollar's lost 98% of its value since 1913, 98% of its value. And what we're trying to do is tell people, hey, you know what? There is a good chance if history's any indicator, if history's any indicator, the last 2% of purchasing power you have, you're about to lose. And then people look at you with an incredulous look on their faces, man. They just don't simply get it. Unreal. Anyway, man, it's playtime's over for Israel, I'm hearing.
Yeah, playtime's over, and it's interesting to watch the entire geopolitical reformation that's occurring. Mm-hmm. and Israel is one of them, right? So after meeting with Trump and understanding in particular, who he's dealing with, now for the first time ever, potentially Netanyahu is going to his hard right caucus and saying, hey, listen, we may need to rethink our strategy.
Absolutely. Because the president wants a deal. No more blank checks. No more, okay, I'm going to go to Israel and I'm going to meet with the prime minister. And the prime minister says, we're going to need $5 billion. No longer is the U.S. president just going to hand over $5 billion. No questions asked. It's not happening. Okay. And you can see by some of the things that, that Trump has been saying, about Israel, that it's not status quo. It's not something that that Netanyahu and his side of the political spectrum in Israel and the Likud party, I mean, in the Knesset, want to hear. Okay, so it's quite refreshing to see a president just say, you know what, it ain't business as usual. Which also brings us, CJ, to I guess the other guy who's working the other end of the Atlantic on the other side would be Putin. What's going on with Putin and Macron? It looks like he put that bitch on a leash, huh?
Well, they did, and I think Macron, thought that he was going to go into this discussion with more of a firm foot than he had, mm-hmm. and now he's completely pivoting towards and making the right decisions that quote unquote, that no major problem in the world can be solved without Russia. Mm-hmm. And Russia's involvement in Syria, Russia's involvement in helping to solve the Ukraine crisis. So Macron is coming to some quick realizations that, getting things done, getting the resolve done without including Russia in this is a huge mistake for any country to be looking at this. Right. So this is, to me, is an optimistic, now whether he's saying that just to appease Putin at the time. Yep. But according to the discussion that we had yesterday with London Paul, the globalists thinking that what they truly had purchased with getting Macron elected, then maybe he's right. Maybe they're about to see an about face with Macron to build better ties, build better partnerships with Russia, understanding the economic impact that Russia has to that region.
Yep. Absolutely correct, man, and it's a huge thing. It's a different and refreshing take. If Macron wakes up and smells the coffee and he is on the way to integrate with Russia, then that's a good thing for France because France gotten killed with all these Russian sanctions. They've been hurt. One of the countries that have been hurt the most, alongside Germany, thanks to Merkel, who's put Germany pretty much on a suicide watch at this point, man. The other thing that's happened with Trump as well, CJ, is the fact that he was absolutely laying down the law to the bureaucrats in Brussels. Okay, that's a huge thing. This is a really good article from the Duran, fresh off this meeting in the Vatican where Trump women. I want you guys to think about this. The Trump women annoyed the living heck out of the liberal communist Pope by addressing, quote unquote, way too Catholic. Okay, you guys remember the dress that Melania and Ivanka were wearing? Okay, way too traditional for the hip, libtard, communistic, atheistic Pope that's inhabiting the Jesuit that's inhabiting the Vatican at this point. Way too conservative. Now, Donald Trump arrived in Brussels for a showdown with the bought and paid for career Eurocrats. These are the kleptocrats that are running the EU. And they were expecting him to carry on the transatlanticist flame while keeping the U.S. money spigots filling their troughs. Again, they're thinking business as usual. We're going to get bags and bags and bags of money from D.C., and everything's going to be great because, after all, Trump's been brought to heel by his cabinet. Trump's been brought to heel by the establishment and the deep state. Everything should work out peachy. And what happened? Donald Tusk, the head guy over at NATO, seemed to naturally concede the other Donald's alpha status, both with his need to do most of the talking, betraying a sense of insecurity, and is walking slightly to the rear of the U.S. president. You could tell a lot by body language, okay? And Donald Trump knows that these Euro weenies are a bunch of manginas to begin with, okay? In fact, the same body language, a tacit submissiveness on the part of the European politicians was observed throughout Trump's interaction with them in Brussels. When he arrived to meet NATO Secretary General Jens, look, you cannot be a general of a military and your first name be Jen. I'm sorry. Jens Stoltenberg at the Alliance's new $1.2 billion boondoggle HQ. It was repeat performance of Trump's meeting with Tusk. Okay? Later on, when NATO heads of state and government had assembled, there was a moment Trump found himself physically hemmed in by the prime minister of the bloc's newest member, tiny little insignificant country called Montenegro. Unwilling to be obstructed by the two-bit vassal, the superpower commander-in-chief shoved his way to the front of the pack, and Montenegro took it smiling. That's the scene y'all remember. If the news media was saying, "Oh my God, he pushed himself to the front of the pack." Hell yeah, this ain't Obama who's going to be sitting in the side with the wives at the ASEAN meeting. What are they thinking? This is Obama who's going to be content in the back of the bus? No. He's seen this little prime minister from Montenegro. What did Trump do? Put his hand out on the guy's chest, pushed him back. Like, get back. That's how it is, because he understands image and optics are everything. He's going to lead the pack. He's going to show that America is in the forefront. And what did he do? Well, on policy, Tusk came out in the meeting disappointed that Trump hadn't really readily subscribed to the polls stock delusional Russia paranoia. They were like shocked. They were shocked that Trump didn't go along with the Russophobia, that Trump took their precious climate change and shoved it up their rear ends. That's what they were shocked at. And they were just sitting there, Rajoy, the idiot from Spain, the moron, just sitting there confused. This is an idiot who created a green economy in Spain. So every new green job that Rajoy created cost 5 normal economic manufacturing jobs in Spain, the dumbass. Merkel, a dumbest woman in the world, the stupidest woman in politics. Okay? How is this woman a leader is beyond me. This suicidal bitch looking at Trump, totally dumbfounded. And then Macron, who's already got his hand squeezed, sitting there. I love it. I mean, he literally kicked every single one of them in the nuts, including Angela Merkel was kicked in the nuts, CJ. It was a wonderful time. It was great. It was great.
It was a public lashing when you look at the speech that he delivered, right? I mean, he laid it out on the table very clear and concise. That listen, NATO members have not been paying their share. In fact, they're behind payments by 10 years in the terms of $1.some billion. So it's now time for NATO members to do their part of their commitment, what they were supposed to do. In fact, he called Merkel out and the rest of the EU and NATO members. He called them out so much, that Merkel had to go binge drinking after the speech.
Yep, absolutely. You saw that picture, her with the 40-ounce beer jug, just chugging it. Oh my God, I love it. You talk about he does not believe in the climate change. He does not believe in the climate change. He does not think that Russia is evil. And she's out there just chugging it out, bro.
And then when she got sober, she's like, things have changed. We may not be able to count on America like we used to.
Yeah, things have changed, bitch. You're out. You're out.
Too funny.
I love it.
Too funny.
Anyway, the White House, deep search for spy devices siege. What's going on with that?
Yeah, James, the Russian analyst, sent us this article, and then I noticed a few other people reporting on it. But apparently, Sunday night before Trump returned to the White House, numerous news agencies were reporting on seeing red strobe lights in the White House. And a lot of people wondering what specifically what was going on. You know, they're like, it was Trump having a disco in there. But in fact, you know, great analysis came about that these were actually infrared strobes. That basically what they do is they're able to detect hidden cameras and so forth, even if the camera's off. So in other words, when these flash, they'll reflect light enough that they can pinpoint any type of recording devices, any type of cameras that are in there. So more than likely, they were sweeping probably every bit, even the White House bedroom, just ensuring that what in the world was going on, where are these leaks coming from? So, you know, Trump is meaning business here by trying to find out who's leaking this information.
Yeah, it was his private security and not the Secret Service, man.
Right. Yep.
Unreal.
Yep.
Unreal. With that being said, Siege, we're at the end of the broadcast. Give out your shout outs and what else have we got planned for today?
Yeah, absolutely. Please make sure, if you haven't done so yet, make sure you follow us on Steemit. We have the Trading Terradome coming up today with DEX at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure to tune in for that. And just appreciate your support. So continue to share, continue to subscribe, and continue following Rogue Money.
That's it. With that being said, guys, again, also check out our sponsors, myfreedomnow.us, myfreedomnow.us. Get your $600,000, get your credit fixed, get out of debt, and kick the bankers in the nuts. Let those guys show you how it's done. Go there and book a call. With that being said, we're over and out. Take it away, CJ.